Hello, my name's Ian Brown. I'm the Banff Centre Globe and Mail Canada correspondent for 2013. Every year, about 8,000 artists, scientists, and business leaders come through the Banff Centre, which was established in the 1930s here in Banff, Alberta. Another 20,000 come for conferences. It's impossible to get to know everyone, but here are a few people I found especially intriguing. Tim Murphy is a poet and carpenter who lives in Canmore, Alberta. He was recently part of the Writing with Style poetry workshop here at the Banff Centre. He's agreed to read a poem and answer a few questions. Tim.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead?
Yeah.
You want the poem?
I want the poem.
All right, okay, well here it is. Okay, this is called Blue Falcon. First was his glasses I smashed, my nose to his nose, and him so shocked as he picked up the pieces, just out of grad school and brimming with postmodern potential, that he laughed. And next was his hands around her throat, something about starched shirts, or was that the first? A chicken and egg thing maybe, because later he drove up in that 59 Rambler, Robin's Egg Blue, with those cool electric windows, and we bombed down that.
There's a lot of people, you know, who have cell phones and you spend their lives on YouTube. I mean, they sometimes, and other people, wonder why poetry is still around.
Well, it's a form of expression, isn't it? Like any other art. And for me, words are the best way that I can express myself. I don't know what else to say except that I can write poetry better than I can paint. So that's what I do.
That poem's about your father. Why'd you write about your father?
Well, my dad, I didn't grow up with my dad. I grew up with my mother. And he lived in New York and we lived in North Carolina. And so, you know, I missed him a lot and saw him in the week on summers and Christmas time and that kind of thing. We had a good relationship growing up, but he kind of took on heroic proportions for me because he wasn't around much. And then later, you know, our relationship became kind of contentious, but it was always a kind of defining thing for me, my relationship with my dad. And then when he died, you know, I missed him very much, and I think a lot of the stuff I write surrounds him and concerns him.
Is it harder to write a poem that someone's going to read than it is to write a poem that someone's going to hear, that you're going to perform?
I think maybe it is. I think that it's a little bit different. Writing poetry that should be to be read and writing poetry to be heard. I think poetry that's designed for speaking tends to roll a little bit better, comes out a little better, more like the spoken language. I guess the best poets will tell you that you should be able to do both and get a lot out of either. But I think some poems might be written to be read and some poems might be written to be heard. And I give him this ancient Volvo that I found with a little Robin's Egg Blue poking through the rust. No brakes or taillights, but he got it going, drove it like double zeros, always at night, figuring the cops had to sleep sometime. Even pulled the back seat out so he could curl up there like a dog with a motor running, never knowing if he was going to wake up or not, because by then he had tumors growing everywhere. That it got to be a regular thing, him going down to the hospital for derelicts to get the tumors scraped out, and they would sew him up and push him out the door into his blue Volvo with his testicles hanging out one trouser leg. And this went on for quite some time until one day he died, looking at his wristwatch, presumably calculating how long he had suffered this ridiculous life. So we burned his body and scattered his ashes to the wind.